The first time since I've been doing lives on Instagram that now they do a countdown to tell you when you're live. And I'm imagining that's because so many times people have gotten caught thinking they were not live and they're live, because it's happened to me a couple of times too. Luckily, it's just me normally just pittering around. So I think it's kind of funny. So now I know exactly when we're live. Okay, so it's the eclipse. So I like to come on, during the eclipse and give a little support. I don't want to talk all about the eclipse today because I want to get into a couple other topics that I think are kind of all bleeding over right now. It's very warm here today. We're kind of having the summer again. And on the East Coast anyway. On the East Coast, we're having the summer. Because this does tie back to the summer solstice. So when we always want to kind of think of all of these eclipses, all of the equinoxes, everything kind of as one big playground for us to really explore what has to go, what we're going to keep. It's kind of like we're sorting through the drawers of everything. I want to keep this, I got to let this go, this can't stay, I kind of want to keep this. Because we have to be clear on the messages we're getting, right? And I've said this in other videos that even when we were in our human consciousness, we still saw the same patterns, we just didn't see the pattern, but the same pattern was still there. We still knew it was coming the next year. We still knew the energy we were going to be working through. We could see the people that we were going to be playing it out with. But we would then get attached to the people in our human realities because the people were, in our mind, what was causing the whole thing. Whereas when we get into different aspects of our consciousness, we understand it's not, they were just triggering everything to happen for us. They were getting us into that program. They're getting us in to work through that karma. Whether it's twin flame karma, whether it's abundance karma, whether it's ancestral karma. That's kind of what we're going for. That's the goal we're trying to dig out and clear. The people that we have around us, they're just kind of showing up to do that. They're not specifically the we in our human existence we put too much on them. Like they are the whole reason. They're the reason everything happened. They were just kind of showing up. And if they did not show up, someone else would show up in their stead. Sometimes a lot of people kind of can get really bogged down on when we talk about soul contracts, when we flip that and then we go into soul agreements. What if that person decides they're not going to show up? They're going to be late. They're too hung up on other realities, or they can't complete the reality you're in. What happens then? Can that even happen? And in my experience with it and my knowledge with it, they might cut short how long they're there because of other things they have going on and they're working through, but energetically they'll start the chain anyway. It doesn't really matter if they're there for 2 months or they lag on for eight months. That's not the point. The point is they already activated what they had to activate. Now you might have some other people come in and kind of fulfill some different roles and maybe kind of the same ones. We see this a lot when you get into the twin flame stuff. I don't do that many videos on it. It's such a the human conscious had distorted that to such an extent that it's there's so many myths. Like there's only one, and everyone is your twin technically, and we'll anchor it into the romantic aspect because that's what our human wants to do. We want to kind of anchor it into something, and the romantic people tend to be the bigger movers for us. We get more cords in there, we get more attachment in there. It unearths a lot of stuff. Sex unearths a lot of stuff for us. That's why we have it. That's why it's there. That's why it's a tool we use for ascension, along with alcohol and sometimes drugs. Those are tools we use to get to a different space within ourselves, and that's why you see so much of that stuff abused and so much of that stuff going kind of haywire, because it gets people to a different consciousness sometimes. It's just a different way to get to it. That's why we can't judge people who go that way, because it's a different way to earth through their stuff. It's a different way. Like alcohol takes the walls down for people. So it gets people to be more conscious within themselves, even if it's just for the while they're drinking. It unearths a lot of stuff for people. So we tend to feel like we've had more activation with people who have had a bigger impact on us, but that's not always the case. It's just more of our human cord we have attached to the whole thing that makes it bigger. We always want to make everything bigger, and this eclipse has shown you a lot of stuff. And I can tell you it started way before even really the summer equinox, summer solstice, because it was going to show you what you had to work through, what had to go. And you might have even had stuff pop up during this eclipse. And these eclipse gateways opened weeks ago, and they're going to stay open. You're going to see all this continue to play out to probably about April. All the stuff you're seeing now, you might not actually anchor in these realities to April, and that means you're actually doing them. You might see bits and pieces of them coming in now. Maybe you're going to collab with someone next year. Maybe you're going to finish a book. Maybe you're going to leave a relationship. It doesn't matter what it is. You'll already see it's coming in. You're already going to see the pieces of this reality forming. But until you actually anchor it in, which means you're actually participating in the reality, it's still just kind of forming around you. It's still a path you could not take, and you could go do something else. Now, I will tell you, the do something else portion is something you might not enjoy doing. The do something else normally means I'm going to avoid this one because I don't want to go do it. I want to go do this one because this one feels more, and I'm going to use the word practical because that's what I want to, that's kind of the gist. I don't want to go too much into the eclipse today. I did a couple other videos on the eclipse. We kind of know what our marching orders are from what's coming in now. This is more of we're getting the energetic guidance. You might see bits and pieces of it, but until we start doing the reality, it's technically not here yet. Our human consciousness thinks as soon as we think of the reality, okay, well now it's here. Or as soon as we see one person show up, okay, well now I'm doing it. The higher you look at this, from a higher conscious, when you look at these realities, you're going to start to piece together that it hasn't actually arrived yet. It's just really just kind of out there. You know, it's just out there in my field. I can see it. It wants to come in. But there's also a chance that, you know what, that might not work out. And that person might just be someone coming in, but they might not actually be the person that comes in 4 or 5 months from now. They just might be getting me used to the idea of this thing. It might not actually be them that is the catalyst for the whole rest of the year. They might just be getting me used to the idea. You might have someone come in now that you might start a relationship with. And they might be gone by December, but your whole next year is going to be working through whatever they bought up. You know, so that's when I talk about it. Just might be the catalyst. They might be involved, they might not be involved. That's why we have to not get attached to whatever and whoever shows up. It's just part of the multiversal flow of things. It's part of our different aspects. It's all of our aspects coming together to start creating stuff, but it's not the human stuff. But if you look back, I promise you, if you look back in your human existence, any big years you had, you knew. You probably got stuff from the solstice you were clearing. You got to the equinoxes and more stuff was coming in. You got to the eclipses in that season, and you could see it already lining up. You don't have to, people say, if only we knew it was going to happen in the future. You know it's going to happen in the future. You might not like it. You might not like what you see. It's the old excuse we all had. I just can't get an answer. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I just can't get an answer. I don't know. It's because we don't like the answer we get. That's why we keep saying I want a different one. It's just I don't like that one. Ascension is will be a lot of sometimes I don't like that answer. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because it brings up too much fear. I don't want to do that because it makes me really have to unearth stuff. It makes me have to leave stuff. Humans not big on the leaving. And I say that with the caveat is the human is good on the running away, but it's not good on the leaving and closing anything out. It's not good on the closure as in closing things out. And not the way the human uses the word closure, like we're going to wrap it all up. You know, because when we're searching for closure, we're searching for something we're not going to get. We're searching for some physical thing we want. It's the energetic closure we're searching for. But that doesn't come from any physical act. That comes from us working through it and resolving it. But the human likes that physical thing, which leads me back to practicality of, I used to have I guess I still have the friend. I just haven't talked to them in a while, but we kind of don't do friends when we get into higher conscious because the friendships have too much cords to them. The words have too much. You know, you have partnerships with people and there's a different level of respect on a partnership than it is on the word friendship. Friendship has a very, even when you say the word, it's got a ooey gooey taintedness to it. You know, it's almost like, well, whatever, I'll put them over somebody else. And it's the same thing with the twins. You know, they get a pass. They can be shitty and they get a pass because they're this or they're this. You know, we eventually have to get away from all those labels. We have to move away from that stuff. And eventually we're going to be forced to, because as long as we have those things, we also have they anchor us down into what a lot of us and a lot of the world is in today. You know, I heard someone talking about trying to find someone in a similar consciousness, or they were trying to build partnerships, but everyone they were finding, this just is not working because everyone's in a different place, and some people are, in one place or another place. And then someone else made the comment, well, if you think 98% of the people on the planet are unconscious, you have 2% that are conscious, and of those 2%, you're trying to find someone that's in a similar space that you are. It can get hard. That's not the biggest pool to pick from, really. When you're trying to find people you want to build realities with. Now, that doesn't mean we can't come together for a short period of time and create something with someone who's in a totally different consciousness, as long as their heart's open to do it. But when we talk about long term, having people around, that's a different, and of course long term is going to be different for everybody, or how your universe is going to view that. Someone really in your life might be a better way for me to say that. Someone that's kind of anchored in, someone you're going to see every day, someone you're going to really, take on their karma in a sense, because when they go through some part of ascension you might have already been through, you got to go through it again with them, So if they're in a space where they're trying to appreciate and they don't appreciate money, and when they get their money reset, start appreciating money, which could be years for that whole reset to happen, till we really learn appreciation for that, a minimum of 2 years and sometimes longer, depending on how greedy we were in our human existence. If they haven't gone through that, and they need to go through that, well, you're going to get dragged through that with them again, and you might have already had your reset. You might have already gone through a lot of that. And now, because they're in a different space, they're going to go through that. Now you got to go through that with them. So that's when we talk about bringing someone in. The practicality of, and get back to the practical word, is the word I really want to get to today. I don't know if I'm going to actually get to it though. I see this all the time. And I used to, like I said, I used to have a friend that said, I want new earth, I want higher consciousness. New earth is just higher consciousness. It's just a different world we live on, a different planet you live on, a different dimension you live in. People call it new earth, but that's basically to me what it is. It's just a different consciousness. It's your body in a different consciousness. No, it's not just hitting the consciousness. It's your body in a different consciousness. It's your body embodying that consciousness, embodying that aspect, living from that aspect. You can touch on an aspect of yourself, even if it's an angelic aspect. But until you start bringing that in, and anywhere in your life where you are not bringing that angelic aspect out, any reality, you're going to be forced to either close down the reality or shift to that aspect in that reality. And if you can't have that aspect in that reality, that'll get closed down. You're going to have others where you're going to have to do that. That's what it means by bringing it in. It's not just, oh, I see that. You have to be that. That's when we talk about kind of boots on the ground. You're always going to be transmitting and receiving. There's different fields on this. People say you can't transmit and receive at the same time. I feel you can't transmit and receive consciously at the same time, because like when I'm doing this, I'm transmitting out. Would I be receiving information at the same time? Yes. The energy is actually flowing out. I'm not absorbing in. I'm flowing things out right now. Now, unconsciously, am I going to be getting stuff that might pop up later when I'm in a more of a receiving mode? Yes. It's still going on. I'm just not getting it to where, because I have to be in a different kind of state to do that. So I think you can. It's just it's going to be your receiving when you're transmitting is going to be more where I'm not picking it up. I'm not getting the message on that, Like before I do these, I'm in receiving mode and I get a word I want to talk about or something I want to do. And I'm like, okay, I like that word. Let me go and explore that word. And then I just kind of take it on from there. People want to try to take higher consciousness and make it practical. I want it to be practical. I want it to, I want to be based in something. I want to be able to see something I can do with it, Even telepathy, which is still a very human word. It's basically just reading the field, but someone wants it to be practical. I want that to be practical. I want that to be a practical thing. Well, when you start trying to make it practical, you're trying to make it human. You're trying to make it a human thing that makes sense to me. Practical is a human word. It is not a higher consciousness word. You're not going to, if you see anyone using that in higher consciousness, they are still setting in a dimension where they're bleeding the two together, because it's not a higher consciousness word. There is no practical here. Nothing is practical. Nothing makes linear sense. It's not, when you're on your ascension journey, even when you're in your awakening, nothing is practical. Nothing is, and people basically say that because they want to be able to root it back down. And when things start falling apart, everybody wants to dig deeper into the hole. They want to root it back root it back in. I got to figure it out. I got to take all this stuff and make it something else. I want it to be a practical solution. Practical solutions are human solutions. And that might not be the solution you're getting. You might be getting, your own guidance might tell you to do something that's completely opposite of that. Completely opposite of what a practical thing would be. You know, whether you are trying to figure out relationships, where you're trying to figure out where you want to live, where you're trying to figure out a job, none of that really matters. Those are just the things we use to kind of get to it. You know, these are the conduits of which things come in for us. What are we trying to set there and make it practical? Even the eclipses have become practical. You know, everyone is this, and Mercury retrograde, now practical. You can't do this, you can't do that. It's all these rules around Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is no more than we have to embody and activate our Mercury energy, that planet within us. As soon as we can speak clearly and we no longer need Mercury retrograde where everything goes haywire, where we have to maybe miss stuff or we lose stuff, we weren't clear, there's a massive misunderstanding because we don't communicate as humans. But as soon as you learn to do that, you embody in Mercury, you find Mercury retrograde will not mean shit to you anymore. You won't notice it. It will be a blip on the radar. It won't even affect you anymore. You won't even know when it's in your consciousness because technically it's not there for you anymore. In your world, you've mastered Mercury. You know, you can have the open, honest conversation. You can be clear about something. And that sounds like a simple, practical thing in a way, but it's not to the human. You know, the human would rather do 100 other things than sit down and have an open, honest conversation with you. That is not what the human does. It's not something the human's going to want to do. It's going to want to deflect. It's going to want to bring up other things. It's going to want to have a lot of story around it. It's going to want to bring up the past where, these other things had happened. It doesn't want to really sit there and get to the bottom of something. That's just not what it does. That's not its sweet spot. It's not there for that. Our human is there for different things. You also see all the galactic stuff, the UFO stuff, the alien, all that stuff's resurfaced for a lot of collectives this year. But they're trying to make it practical. I want to understand it. I want to understand it. Whereas when you say, well, it's just our galactic aspects. It's just us. That's it. There's really not much more to it than that. It's just us. Some people would say, or it's the karmic prison, a galactic karmic prison. Some people really resonate with that when you say that. And you talk about that reality. People really resonate with that and go, that makes sense to me. I understand that. But we want to take it and kind of put it into a human science. We want to take it and kind of master it in a different way. But it's not really mastery when we try to take it into the human stuff. There are certain buzzwords for me. When I hear them, I know that everyone's still kind of setting it. A lot of people are still in that fourth dimensional place, the purgatory, before you get to the heavenly realities, before you start even in fifth dimensional realities. You're just feeling the energy. You're not really anchoring it in yet. Anchoring in comes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th dimensional realities, 11th, 12th. Fifth dimension is just getting used to the energy. You're not really doing anything yet. That's why everyone in that energy is so floaty and happy and fluffy, because they haven't had to actually boots on the ground do anything yet. And if you haven't had to do anything yet, yeah, this is awesome. Look at the colors, look at everything. It's so beautiful, everything is just love and gorgeous. And it is. And it even is in the other dimensions, but you get a little more, you understand the challenges of what you have to do. And not because it's so challenging to live from your soul and live from your higher aspects and embody in those aspects. I mean, it is challenging for the human body. So that's I'm going to put that aside for a minute, because it is to hold all that. That is challenging for the human body, and the human body can go awry in a lot of different ways because it's not used to that. It wasn't really designed for that in a sense. So we have to really support our body when we start going through that, the different body phases. But when we're really into those energies, the fifth dimensional energies, and then we have the fourth dimensional, the purgatory, it's Bordeaux, it's different words come through. And I did a video about there's different consciousness within that dimension. You can have someone in the beginning of the fourth dimension and the end of the fourth dimension, and they're talking different. They don't believe the same things they believed when they first got into the fourth dimension. People can like the fourth dimension, and the human will stay there for a very long time. Even when we think we've left, I remember thinking I was way out of the fourth dimension. I was so still in the fourth dimension because I didn't see how I was still trying to utilize everything for a human gain, whether it be money, success, fame, a relationship. It didn't matter what it was. I was still trying to twist it. I was still trying to twist it and fit it in to a human consciousness thing, whether it be a relationship, money, even health to a sense. We're still trying to control stuff in a lot of those ways. When we talk about our body going haywire, it brings up a lot of the health stuff. It brings up a lot of the health fear. Nothing brings up fear in humans besides, love, money, and health. Those are the three things. Those are three things that are going to get hit repeatedly when you're going through different parts of your ascension. But the fourth dimension is a critical place we all have to go. You have to go there because it's the gateway to all the other higher dimensional realities. Though you might see people setting in them a very, very, very long time. And different words that I know, for me, trigger when someone's in that reality. Channeling. They're still channeling something else. It's not them. Religion. God. When I hear any of that type of stuff, I know, okay, we're still setting in the fourth dimension. It's not a judgment on that. It's just an awareness of where people are. We haven't embodied yet. We're still in a different, still in a separated state. We're still separating. Spirit guide, that's another word you'll hear. Still a separated state. We're still not owning these things. We're not becoming these things. We're still seeing these as something else. Something else is guiding me. Even synchronicities in a sense can be. It becomes something else later. But in the beginning, I feel like that is one of the words we get into. Even telepathy, it is still a fourth dimensional word. We eventually get into more ESP and reading our field. Be able to pick up on what's going on around us. We always could. We always had the capability in a sense, but we weren't in the brainwave state. Our brainwave state starts to change. When we're still trying to take this stuff and bring it, manifesting is another one. You're still trying to take all these higher consciousness, energetic ideas and plug them back in to the human consciousness. And I know I've done a zillion videos on this topic, and I always come back to it. And I feel like it's just important to say it again and again and again and again, because I did it for years and years and years and years and years, and I couldn't figure out why it's not really working. Those things are not designed to anchor us back in. They're designed to pull us out. And when it starts failing, we double down on this stuff. We double down on more crystals, more of this, more of that, more Reiki, whatever it is for us at that time. We double down on it because we feel like, okay, we just haven't gotten enough of it yet to be able to fix this relationship that's definitely dying on the vine anyway. It's not going to last, but I'm going to keep trying to fix it with all this other stuff. So there is still kind of a practical use for this stuff, even if it's not a practical thing we're trying to use. If someone's deep rooted still in their human consciousness, they're still creating and living third dimensional realities, very human beliefs, very human, really entrenched in that, and they haven't really opened up. Maybe they're just getting into acupuncture. Sometimes it's just some of these things. It's a little bit crossing over, but they're still very heavily rooted in the human consciousness. For them, crystals and Reiki and all that stuff, there's just the two that come to mind. It's a zillion, manifesting, the book The Secret, a lot of that stuff was still kind of out there to get you kind of into telepathy, get you into the energetic stuff, but still anchor you back in. We were still taking those things and trying to make them something else. Use them in a practical human way when they were never meant to be used that way. And it doesn't work. And technically they're working. They're just not working the way our human wants them to work. They're not getting us what we want. We double down more. We go deeper into it. Even though they might feel like they're woo-woo concepts to some people in a human consciousness, they're still to us something we're going to take and now try to fix everything going on over here. I see a lot of that going on during eclipses. I find myself sometimes I might be trying to do that or say, well, I could maybe fix this reality and cut some loose ends I got from some old realities here. There's a way I could get out of it. Maybe get out of it. It's a way I could close it out, a way I could end it. But I don't know if I want to go that way. There's a lot of fear if I got to go that way. I got to look at a lot of judgment I have in myself going that way. I got to go through that kind of stuff. So I might put that on the shelf and not want to go that way, though that might be the highest way for me to go to close something out. I might be saying, no, I'm going to wait until this happens. Well, maybe this thing I'm waiting for can't happen until I clear the energy around why I don't want to go this way. You know, if you need, an example, if you need money to close out a reality, and there's some realities where there might be a workaround, but there's some like, no, I need money to close this reality down. You know, that's how this reality, you might be dealing with someone in a human consciousness where that's what it's going to take to close the reality down, and there's nothing else around that. You know, that's what you're going to need, but you don't have that. So you're like, okay, what else am I going to do? You know, how else can I retrofit this reality? And this is a great example because it's a very kind of clean cut thing, even though there's a zillion reasons why it's going on. It's like, okay, what else can I do? I guess I'll have to go through the fear of this reality. I might have to wait this out for a while because I don't have it. Working through the fear will bring you to a different place where your universe might then give you the money to fix it. But you have to get through the fear first. You know, we have to go through that, and we might get to the other side of that years and years later, and then you might get the money, and you might see this money's to close this out for good. But it didn't come right away. Sometimes things come at the very, very, very last minute because we have to trust that much. We have to believe that much, and those are not human things that we like to do. These are not human things we really want to embrace. You know, the human is not big on trust. You know, 2024, a lot of people have seen 2024 as a massive year for the collectives, and you're already seeing it. Like I said, you can see it in your micro world, you're going to see it in the macro world, you're going to see it everywhere right now. You're going to see it in what's going on, you know, with all the collectives, all the upheaval. And it's just a gateway to what's happening in 2024, and you're already starting to see it. So look at what you're trying to see. Look at what maybe started before. Maybe what's been going on. What are you closing out? It could be 3.5 year cycle. I closed out a big 3.5 year cycle on this eclipse. I was trying to figure out what to do with it for about a month, and finally I knew where I had to go. I had to go where the fear was. I had to go that route. I had to really look and balance out some relationships. Normally that's what a lot of these things are, balancing that kind of stuff out. So, okay. I think I'm gonna leave it at that because I think I went way longer than I wanted to. I will draw a card because it's just something I do like to do on Instagram for whatever reason. I never draw a card on anything else, but I always do it on Instagram. I don't know why. I got into the habit of doing that when I used to do a co-create with another lady that would do that. Oh boy. Oh, that one just flew right out. Okay. Okay, we're running an old program. It's not true. Time to reprogram. So kind of goes into a lot of what we've talked about, and this is a great time to really look at what do we believe. You know, we believe something because we believe it, right? That's the only thing that makes it really true. And if we're running something that we've kept believing, we have to switch out the story. You know, we could say, you know, if we have a story that our spouse was abusive to us, okay, that's a story. And in human consciousness, that story holds a lot of weight. How can we shift that story into something else? And did you allow that behavior by not leaving that behavior? You know, did you not love yourself enough to walk away? And that's still a story. You're still reprogramming with the story, but it's a little higher version of the story because it takes it off of that and puts it on us. Why are we still here? Why are we still dealing with this? You know, why are we not letting go of what this is? Why are we have a boss that was not great to work with in a sense, or they were very verbally abusive. You know, okay, why am I still here? You know, we have to reprogram it to something else, and every time you reprogram the story, it might be just a little bit nicer because you have to work through everything you have with the old story to get to the next version of it until you get to where there's no story. That's reprogramming. That's believing in something else, and then you kind of recreate the whole past. You get to a different dimension in your consciousness where technically the past is rewritten. Now the story is not that. That was for me to stand in my power to walk away. And until I had enough power to do that, then I was going to stay in that, period, until my universe eventually would collapse it. We can rewrite anything. But when we're faced at, especially when the eclipses come that can be very heavy, we feel like everything's kind of closing in, and you're going to see the same themes coming at you from a lot of different directions. Embrace what is coming in and go deeper with it. You know, don't settle for this person did that. that person might have did that, and I might have to go get that anger out of my body and be bitchy about that for a while, and to myself in a mirror, or go outside and get really pissed about it to get it out. But what's it triggering? What's it showing me that I got to work through? It's never about the people. It just is not. It's just the people that showed up to play that part. That's it. It's just casting. It's a casting call. That's all it is. And when we start looking at it from those perspectives, and we don't have the, it's not personal, but our human takes it personal. We make it personal. It was never meant to be. It was never meant to be. Okay, I think that's it. So I will see everyone next time, and enjoy the eclipse energy. It'll be going on for quite a while. Maybe through April. You might still be feeling this in April. So, okay.